Hello viewers, as you can see it's the next day. We've gotten our engine inside just in time as it is raining here, and we have begun the disassembly process. Here you can see that we have removed the plastic covers, the ignition coils, and we have begun inspecting our cylinders. And here in cylinder number 3 we found a piece of the puzzle. As you can see, the spark plug has been severely damaged, and if you continue on and take a look inside of the cylinder, as far as we can see, there has been damage to the piston as well. It is hard to say what the cause of the damage is, but I think that it may be overheating and the piston beginning to melt in there. But we are going to go ahead and remove our fuel rails, remove the fuel injectors, and then remove our heads so that we can inspect the cylinder bore itself and see the extent of our damage and ultimately make the necessary repairs. So stay tuned, drop a like if you do so, and thank you all very much. We have removed the fuel rail, the injectors, and the head, and as you can see, it is quite clear as to why we have no compression in cylinder 3. This piston has, of course, faced catastrophic failure. I'm honestly not sure as to why. That just looks like a malfunction of the material itself, not even just from melting, but who knows, if you run it long enough, it is possible for the cylinder to, or the piston to melt down like that. But we have not yet looked at the condition of the cylinder bore, but we will turn it over now. Сергей, можешь перевернуть здесь, чтобы мы могли посмотреть, как выглядит? The day comes to an end, as does our work, and we are going to end things off with a quick little video. And as y'all can see, I have continued in the disassembly process in removing since our 2-stroke oil tank, as well as this girthy example of a high pressure fuel pump, and also this vapor separator tank. Here we can take a quick look at our cylinder head, more specifically the failed cylinder, and y'all can see this gouging that was caused. I'm not sure how to explain that burnt oil or just residue, but it just looks like it got real hot in there. But really, relative to the rest of our cylinder, I'd say this is not so bad. It should clean up just fine and should be almost like new once it's all said and done. But we'll come around and take a look at the inside of our cylinder here, and it does not look in very good condition at all. Y'all can see the cylinder wall is pretty scored up. Looks like there's some aluminum from the piston that has melted onto the cylinder wall. There are chunks missing up around the port window here. The piston ring has broken. The piston itself is looking like the face of the moon, and it looks pretty severe, but the fix should be relatively simple. All we're gonna have to do is pull the power head from the rest of the outboard engine here, and then break it down to the bare cylinder block, install a new sleeve, bore that sleeve and hone it to match a new piston, and once that is said and done, it should be like new. But the thing we are trying to get to the bottom of in this video is, why would a failure like this occur? And from the research I've done, there are two main reasons. And the first, which is not the reason I suspect, I will share with you guys, because these Yamaha HPDI two-stroke engines are notorious for, is something called locating pin failure. And locating pin failure is basically exactly what it sounds like. In the piston, on the OEM Yamaha piston, there is a little pin that's pressed into the side, and that pin, it works to orient your piston ring into its proper position. But what can happen over time from the vibrations of operation, and whether those vibrations are from normal operation is up in the air, because people say that happens when your engine detonates, as in your piston fires prematurely because there is low quality fuel being used. But either way, vibrations work that little pin loose, that little locating pin, and when it comes loose all the way, it's gonna have its way on the inside of your cylinder. And at first, from reading forums, I began to suspect that it might be that, but I have seen pin failures before on other two-stroke engines, and usually when a pin comes out, you will see direct gouging where the pin just rips up your cylinder wall completely. And while the cylinder wall looks pretty bad, you can't see any particularly deep gouges. And really what I think caused the demise of this cylinder here is fuel injector failure. And that was my first guess, because the previous owner told me that's what he suspected, but also because, as you can see here, the majority of the damage to the piston coincides directly with where our exhaust port is. And that would make very much sense, because as the hot gases are compressed and pushed out of your engine, they all go through the exhaust port and they heat up this area of the piston more so than anywhere else. And also, it's just looking real dry and ashy in general all up in here. It looks like there's been some aluminum that's even melted itself onto the side of the cast iron sleeve. But the reason as to why that happens is because on a two-stroke engine, the gasoline and oil mixture serves not only as the fuel, but it serves also as a lubricant for the cylinder wall, and also as one of the ways that the cylinder and piston is cooled down. And when your injector fails, or your two-stroke engine runs in too lean of a condition, things can start to heat up very quickly, because the inside, the combustion area here, is not being properly cooled. And from there on in, things can very quickly start melting, and when they do, they're gonna start separating. And when metal starts separating inside a cylinder, you're in for not very good day, frankly. But I think that is what happened here. But what we're gonna do is send all of our injectors off to be ultrasonically cleaned and of course tested before they are reinstalled, and that'll be that. But as far as the locating pin failure goes, I would like to address that as well while we're in here. And people say on the forums, a way to negate that problem from occurring in the future is from changing your OEM Yamaha pistons to an aftermarket piston such as Wiseco or WSM, or really whatever your preference may be. I hope to purchase some WSM pistons for this engine, but we're gonna see about that, guys, because with the rebuild, I'm going to be at least all day $2,000 to at least $2,500 in before we've got this engine reassembled and ready to run. And never mind all of the displays and throttle controls and such we'll need to test the engine. So the price tag is going to be pretty hefty. So, and as y'all know, the value of a rebuilt outboard engine is unfortunately pretty dismal. But even though I'll be able to have this engine back to, I would say, even better than new condition after I'm done with it, but you know, you can't really explain that to a potential customer because there's always uncertainty when there is an engine getting rebuilt by somebody else. But maybe it'll help the fact that I'm documenting the process here, and y'all are going to be able to see the machining work that gets done, the new sleeve installation. Everything's going to be documented, and you guys will know that I do things right. This engine will hopefully be done right. But you know, just thinking to myself, that's one thing I'm considering. Do I continue with the rebuild, or you know, I could potentially part this engine out because there are a lot of relatively fair value components here that I can sell off pretty quickly. But I don't know, I really want to fix this engine because I personally feel as though this V6 two-stroke 300 horsepower making Yamaha is just one of a kind, and I feel as though there are many other people that appreciate the mechanics of a four-stroke, maybe understand the engineering of it, and you know, they see something more in this than just a simple outboard engine, ironically, even though that's all it really is. But I don't know, it's just thinking to myself, what would you guys do? Would you part this out? If you had the ability, would you rebuild it? You know, if I had a boat that I could mount this engine onto, ultimately, there would be no question about it. But I don't have a boat that will be compatible with this engine, as it is only a 20-inch lower unit, and it's meant for generally a bass boat. But I don't know, we're gonna see. I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna keep on working on it and making update videos, as it's still got a long way to go until we're ready to purchase parts or even get into the machining. So I'm gonna continue updating you guys, and I ask that y'all stay tuned. I ask that you hit that like button if you will. That does the most for the growth of my humble little YouTube channel here. And also hit that subscribe button if you will. Thank y'all very much for watching. Stay tuned. God bless y'all and have a blessed day. Also, if y'all would comment down below with any thoughts or criticisms even. That's one of my favorite parts of my short YouTube journey, is interacting with, you know, anybody that wants to share their input and share their thoughts in the comments down below. Or if you need a service, maybe not of this magnitude, but this is what I do relatively. I rebuild small engines, I rebuild heads and cylinders, and also we just do general industrial machining and repairs here. So, you know, if you all have any inquiries, be in touch and I will make sure to do so as well. And on that note, have a good rest of your day. Be safe, be blessed. Thank you all so much.